Okay, we're live.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Housing Policy Review Committee meeting. So I will call this meeting to order at 2:06 p.m. And just to give us a little bit of framework, I wanted to, before we start introductions, I wanted to cover the purpose of the Housing Policy Committee. Again, my name is Natalie Green with Community Development. I will be your primary staff contact. The purpose of this committee is to make specific recommendations regarding the creation, maintenance, expansion of all housing types within the city for all socioeconomic classes, with specific goals to develop and recommend policies that improve the number of houses and the number and conditions of all dwelling types in accordance with our city's adopted comprehensive plans, department strategic plans, and specific issued plans. We are a 7-member board. There are 3 councilor members, and again, we'll get to introductions in just a second. And then we have 4 ex officio members. At least 1 is in attendance currently. So let's go ahead and go around the virtual room and do introductions. If we want to go ahead and start with Councilor Gondeta.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem Cassandra Gandara.
And then who else is next? Councilor Bencomo.
Hi, everyone. Buenas tardes. Joanna Bencomo, Counselor for District 4.
Good afternoon. This is Juan Olvera from the Housing Authority.
We do not have our nonprofit affordable housing position appointed. We have 2 potential applicants. We'll be working on that. Sanja is not on the call this afternoon, but we're trying to get in touch with her. And I don't believe Benjamin Beard is on the call either. So that leaves us to Councilor Flores.
Hi, everyone. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. Yvonne Flores, District 6 City Councilor. Thank you.
And then I'm going to also ask my staff to introduce themselves if they can real quickly.
Good afternoon. Larry Nichols, the Community Development Director. Good afternoon. Natalie, one point I might make it. Do you need a quorum for this committee or
I have a quorum. Thank you, Larry.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Wilson. I'm a Housing Development Coordinator for Community Development.
Good afternoon. Jan Lauterbach here, Housing Development Coordinator with Community Development.
Okay, and then Becky is our recording secretary. She'll be assisting us in managing the meetings, and I believe David Weir is also on the call. And I think someone is trying to join us, and I'm going to guess that it's either Sanja or Benjamin.
This is David. Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay. So moving on in the agenda.
One sec, Natalie. The person who called in with 6548, can we get your name?
Hi, my name is Sonia Unrao. I'm with the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority. I apologize for my tardiness. I was having trouble with the passcode.
And Sanja is another member. She'll be representing, again, the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority. So moving on in the agenda.
I'm sorry, real quick. Can I get, Sonia, can you spell your name for me real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
It's on the screen, Adrian.
Oh, it is?
Yes, Sonja.
Oh, gotcha. I see it now. Thank you.
Does anyone have a conflict of interest?
None.
None for me.
No.
None for me.
None for me.
Okay, can I get a motion for the acceptance of the agenda?
So moved by Flores.
Second,
Bencomo. Second. Juan
Moved by
Olvera.
Flores, seconded by Do I have to take a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. We don't have any approval of minutes, but going forward, we will. So on to our action items. The first is going to be an election of a chair. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate Joanna Bencomo, Yvonne Flores.
Sure. Second. Gandara.
Counselor Bencomo, do you accept the nomination?
I do, thank you. I did not expect that, Counselor Flores.
Why not? You're the best.
I would argue that Mayor Pro Tem is the best.
No, I mean the best one for this role right now, because Mayor Pro Tem is like so busy.
So it's been
Yes.
moved that Counselor Bencomo will be the chair, and it's been moved by Counselor Flores, second by Counselor Gandara. And I guess we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, do we want to elect a vice chair, just in case?
Sure.
Do I have any nominations for a vice chair?
And it could be any of the members, doesn't have to be a city council, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I nominate, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who's the seven? It's Sonia, it's Juan Olvera, Sonia, Ben Beard.
Mhm.
And who's the other person?
We've asked,
Oh, it's vacant.
it's vacant, but we've asked Art Marufo from TDS to join us on that.
Okay.
We wanted to have someone who had development experience in the affordable housing section.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I nominate Sonia Unruh.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I have a motion? I
I-
guess,
Oh, well, there'd have to be, I nominated her, and then is there a second? Was there a second?
Yeah. Second it. Gandara.
okay, it's been moved by Counselor Flores and second by Counselor Gandara that Sonia will be our vice chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. Nope.
Counselor Bencomo, did you want to run the rest of the meeting, or would you like me to finish out this time?
No, you finish it so I can pay attention, Natalie.
All right. Sounds good. Our next action item is to discuss meeting frequency. And is that something we want to do bi-monthly, quarterly, monthly?
This is Counselor Bencomo. I definitely, oh shoot, sorry. Yes, raise hand. My apologies.
Counselor Bencomo, go ahead.
You'd think I was new at this. Thank you, Natalie. Bi-monthly is too much for me. That's not possible. What can I ask? How frequent this group was meeting before?
Oh, by bi-monthly, I meant
Bi-monthly is every other month.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
It's counterintuitive, but yeah, that's.
yeah. Okay. How often were you meeting before? Is that how often you were meeting before bi-monthly?
Once a month.
Every month.
In the beginning, it was every month, and then it kind of tapered out to every other month. So
I'd like to recommend it monthly until we get our feet on the ground and moving. There were a few items from last from last year that really need to be moved and discussed, like the Uniform Housing Code,
Yes.
put into that. And I would recommend that be one of the next agenda items, having Jennifer come and report to us about that. But there were a few things that we were working on that I think really need to get hammered out as we move forward. So I recommend once a month, and then we can look quarterly to what that,
If need be.
yeah, look at the 3 months time to decide where we need to be.
Does the fourth Thursday of the month work for the staff that's on board in the afternoon? Similar time frame? Adrian, I know you have the master schedule for these YouTube meetings. Does this time slot work?
The time that we're doing right now,
Yes.
and it's the, what are
Fourth.
we, the 4th? Let me check real quick. No way, I'm sorry. So the next would be August 26th, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and right now there's a quality of life PRC on
Sorry.
that.
The 27th,
Oh, 20. Oh, I forget. Yes, it is
Thursday.
Thursday. There's a, so on the 4th, well, yeah, there's an economic, yeah, right now the 4th Thursday is from it's tied up from 1:30 to 3 p.m.
Okay, what about the third Thursday then?
Let me check that.
And do third Thursday.
Sorry. The third Thursday seems to be free.
Okay, so we'll shoot for the third Thursday of every month from 2 to 3:30. So, okay, so moving on to our next agenda item is just general discussion. And that is future items for review and future tasks. So what I mean by future tasks is tasks that we previously undertaken again that we'll get back to, but I'll open the floor to the counselors if you want to discuss items that need to be brought before the PRC. And I did make note of the first one is the uniform, right? Any items of interest, Counselor Bencomo?
Natalie, there's folks raise their hands.
Counselor Gandara, or Mayor Pro Tem Gandara.
Thank you, Natalie. Like I said, I'd really like to have the Uniform Housing Code, an update on the Sierra project, just all the projects we have in the queue would be helpful. And I think one of the things that I'd like to have a conversation is on the land trust thing, land bank and trust fund. Land bank, and trust fund. I think that's really important. And then I don't know, Counselor Flores, I think you came in, but I really loved having each of the sites, like each of like Tierra del Sol and Mesilla Valley Housing Authority did small, they did updates on their programs. I think that's always a mortgage finance authority. Having new ones on, like Johanna and Councilor Flores, I think came at the tail end of some of that. I think that's super helpful to understand what's out there, what's available. And so I don't know if we can or share those PowerPoint presentations from the past. I think that would be really helpful. Like Mortgage Finance Authorities just has so much available. And I would love to hear from folks what they're experiencing via COVID. I think that's really important for us to understand and moving forward, so that policy, I think, is super important as it relates to housing with evictions, you know, people not being able to pay their rent or mortgage. I think those are all, for me, important things to hear.
Thank you, Councilor Gonda.
Thank you.
Staff is taking notes of all these topics. Councilor Flores?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like, first of all, I have a question for Mayor Pro Tem Gandara. The land trust, can you explain to me what that is, or jog my memory on that?
Every year, fiscal year, we have, I don't know what the total is currently, Natalie, but we put funding into that, and then it's used right in conjunction with some of the projects that we're exploring to do, like, for example, the Sierra project. You guys know it better than I do, but that's sort of how I understand it in my head. Is it's a funding mechanism for us to use in conjunction with, and there's a group, right, that manages it?
Yes, so I can explain a little bit further. So the city has an affordable housing land bank and trust fund. So it has physical properties within its purview, and it also has some funding. So it's been a long process to get to the point that we could actually start using that. We had to go through an affordable housing plan and an affordable housing ordinance, and we finally have all those tools and pieces together to finally do not only property acquisition, but land development. And Sierra will be our first land bank and trust fund property development. So we have done some smaller items out of the trust fund, similar to the impact fee waivers we did with Desert Hope. And then we also council budgets impact fee waivers annually. So we can definitely give an update on the land bank and trust fund. And let you know some of the exciting things that we've been doing. So we have some new property acquisitions, and we'd like to get some feedback on that stuff. So we'll add that to the list of discussion items. Did you have additional items, Councilor Flores? And you're on mute.
Yeah, I muted because we should be muted when we're not talking, because it echoes if we don't sometimes. So thank you, Ms. Green. So what I would like to do, and I don't know if we can do this effectively in our committee, but when COVID broke out, I approached the city attorney about rent control. And it turns out that the state of New Mexico doesn't have rent control. And so then, of course, the next thing was everybody was happy because there was this eviction thing. There had been a stay, and then there were problems there. And I think Angelica Rubio and Andrea Romero are working on that. But anyway, so I would like our committee to explore, because it's statutory, excuse me. Yes, it's statutory. It's in a state constitution. Or is it? Yes, actually, it's constitutional. So I want to explore that, do research on that, and see what we can come up on rent control. Because when COVID broke out, I had a couple, I don't know if you all, the other counselors did, but I actually had calls from a couple of constituents whose their rent went right up. And so the city did, I transferred them over to Jan. But at any rate, so that, and the other thing that, there's a couple of other things and maybe they're linked. One is land acquisition of the land trust, the state land trust from, Richard Garcia Richard. And so I don't know if that's part of that land trust funding that we look, but I would like to explore buying that land. And then we could have, and then to have housing there that isn't, quote, affordable, because affordable housing has its little requirements. And so it does leave out people who are actually low income. So I want to explore those in tandem, or maybe they're not in tandem. But yeah, I think, and I voiced this before in other meetings, that I don't think that the beauty of the East Mesa should be limited to people who are able to live in the expensive, relatively expensive housing. And it would also, I think, be a good way to use that land that's being acquired. John Moscato has already, he's already leased, and we all know that the commissioner, land trust commissioner, really wants to sell because it generates money for schools. So I'd like to look into that, please. So it's trust land, the state land trust. So property, acquiring that, and also looking into low income development, not affordable, but low income housing availability. Thank you. That's what I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Flores.
I'm not, oh, wait a minute. I just looked at my notes. The other thing that piqued my interest, and I don't know if you listened in on that meeting, Natalie, Ms. Green, when Mr., I think his name was Shaman, he was talking to us about community development, and he mentioned the issue of affordable housing came up, or livable, acquirable, and he brought up this concept. I've heard of it before, but I'm glad it was mentioned to us as city council at a meeting where he said that property can be owned by nonprofits and presumably by a government entity, I don't know, but then houses could be built there, and then people can afford to live there. So so I don't know if we could explore that too, but I know that we can. So yes, I would like to put that as something to look into.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Councilor Benkus.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, a couple things. I think the first note I want to make is about visiting the Elevate Las Cruces plan, and then focusing on some of the short-term policies, and maybe even thinking through what are some of the bigger goals to set in the Elevate Las Cruces that we can start discussing already. I mean, for me, there's like a couple in here already that I'm looking at around inventory current city-owned land for the purpose of developing affordable housing, which I think is what both my colleagues are naming. Reviewing of inclusionary housing policies, which I think, to Councilor Flores's point about rent control being us, even though we're a home rule, not being allowed to do some of that. Is that the same with tenant rights and tenant protections? If so, I'd like to explore that further. What that looks like for landlords have obligations and tenants have rights, right? And so how do we have a stronger tenant bill of rights that Las Cruces can rely on? I've spoken to a lot of people who have failing air conditioners, who have live in some pretty frankly dangerous conditions, and landlords are not held accountable often. So for me, that would be really important to look into. And then I feel like I had something else, but I think those are my really two biggest things. Just looking at the Elevate Las Cruces goals to start exploring and moving towards some of those. I can definitely send you an email so I don't have to name them all here, what I think are some of the big ones, but I bet if we just maybe laid out, if we had a presentation of what those short-term goals are, perhaps this whole committee can vote on what some priorities are that we can move forth sort of immediately. And then, like I said, I start exploring the larger ones. But that's it for me now, Natalie.
Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. And as part of the chair, you'll work with me as a staff liaison and develop those agendas.
Yay!
So as part of, and I'm happy that you mentioned Elevate, because as part of moving forward, one of the initiatives is going to be a facilitation tool. It's not quite ready to roll out, but we will be rolling out that facilitation tool. And what it does is it frames whatever topic we are working on within the context of not only Elevate, but all those other city policies. And then it also asks us to evaluate when we discuss these, who's not involved in the conversation, who needs to be involved in the conversation. And then are we looking at it from a place of equity and some other lenses? So it's we are definitely looking forward to that tool when the time comes, and it'll be a format for really structuring these conversations into meaningful action. Councilor Flores, you have your hand raised?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I forgot to put it down.
And Larry, did you have something to add?
Yes, thank you. Larry Nichols, Community Development, and Chairperson Bencomo and members of the board and committee. Was very interested in hearing the different topics that you want brought before the housing committee. And we're going to be, staff is going to be very supportive of that and help you in getting that information. I need to help ask a question of you because you established your schedule the third week of every month at the time frame, and then you listed the items that you wanted information on. I'm going to ask that if you could give us some time frames for those, because at this particular point in time, with the reports that we're providing on the COVID activity, on the funding for the COVID activity, on the other items that are coming before the city council, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So if there was some way that we might prioritize that list of information that you wanted, it would be very helpful for me to work with my staff to get that information to you. Otherwise, I'm a little bit concerned that you may have that expectation of having this information, all of this at the next meeting, and we just simply would be hard pressed to provide that. But we certainly can provide a prioritized item if you would help me with that, please.
Thank you, Larry. Councilor Bencomo. Oh no, Councilor Gandada, I'm sorry. Did you have your hand raised first?
I did. Thank you. I appreciate that, Larry. I think that's really important. Often we throw out a lot of things and I think staff is really diligent in trying to accomplish everything, and it makes for a really difficult time. So I don't think that, I don't expect for staff to be prepared to all the things to report on all the things we listed on next council or next PRC meeting. But I do know that the Uniform Housing Code is ready to go, ready to be presented. And I'd love for it to be presented to this group first, so that then it can then get presented to council at a larger level. In that, we had talked about stronger tenant and landlord, what is it, laws or guidelines or whatever.
It would be landlord tenant ordinance law, because ordinance is the law in the city. So it'd be landlord tenant ordinance?
So that is incorporated in that, I believe, that housing code. And so I think right off the bat, we'd have a nice, in fact, I had emailed Jennifer Vega Brown, because I know she's been working on it, looking at it and whatnot, and asked, and she would send it, the draft to us. In fact, it had been sent to us a while ago. And it would just sort of wait till we could get this going. So I'd like to see that first as an item. I think the other things is not to load us up. I'd like an update on the land trust. I think that can happen in
Yeah,
the
that could-
next couple of months. Those are things I think that are pretty, I want to say fairly easy to be prepared for. And maybe the Elevate Las Cruces, it's already there. You just have to tell, okay, here it is, which is a nice way to facilitate, this group is putting up, what do we need to be responsible for, everything housing, and then start prioritizing them. I'm happy to do that as part of next meeting. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Councilor Granda. Councilor Bencomo?
Thank you. Natalie, I completely agree with Mayor Pro Tem, and thanks for bringing that up, Larry. I totally hear you, and I think COVID-related things are absolutely priority, and we appreciate all the work that your department and Natalie has been doing to keep us informed. So absolutely priority, and I hear you. I honestly was going to say, I think for me, it'd be important to prioritize the pending topics that were left behind when this was sort of suspended. I think that sounds incredibly important. I'm actually really glad to me, this tenant rights thing is incredibly important, but I'm really glad to hear that one of this uniform housing code included that. So I think exploring that in the next couple months to me would be definitely priority. And then, I don't know, I was taking notes, and some of the other things are just updates. So I don't know, the project updates and the land trust that Mayor Pro Tem was talking about. And then I think, so we don't have to do this next meeting, right, next month, but I think perhaps the month after, we can definitely focus on Elevate Las Cruces and the short-term, some of the short-term goals that this, like I said before, that this council can then set priorities for, that will help clarify what that could look like for staff after that. But I definitely hear you. I don't think it has to happen this month or even next month. I think for me, the most critical thing to focus on is where you all left off last time, because it seems like this uniform housing code could be really powerful.
Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. And then as staff, again, we'll work with the chairperson to come up with a reasonable time frame and time schedule and agendas.
And then one more thing, Natalie, now that you mentioned that, Councilor Bencomo again, can I also sit down with you to talk through the Unified Housing Code, since I was not around last time?
I think so, as long as city manager's office allows it, then.
Okay. I'll go through the city manager and ask. Thank you.
I would recommend that it gets resent to us in the group so that we can look at it. And then Councilor Bencomo, David Maestas has been really good about giving us access to staff. And so I think sitting down with them, would be awesome. If you haven't already, there's just so much in community development that I think would be very helpful. Oh, since I have the floor, could you send your affordable housing plan to us as well?
Yes, Councilor Granda, we will get both those items out to the group. Councilor Flores, you had your hand raised?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Green. And I agree with Mayor Pro Tem on the, moving on, and Chair Bencomo also brought that up, that we should move on the items that we were everything just went into limbo about a year, 15 months ago. And then with COVID, it's been hard to get everything started up again. So I think it's, yeah, time is of the essence insofar as the, what's going on with Sierra and the land trust. I would like to learn about that. And then I think that the Elevate Las Cruces is definitely going to guide us as to how we can move on things. And so perhaps that could be our second meeting. And then the Uniform Housing Act, or excuse me, statute or ordinance. That would probably be for, would that be for the next meeting? Or what were you thinking, Mayor Pro Tem? Would that be something we'd be reviewing perhaps within the next month at the next meeting? Or I think that's something that we really need to look at.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. Staff is making a list of all the items, and then again, we'll work with Councilor Bencomo and then make sure that legal is available for the next meeting to present that. If not, we'll adjust the schedule as necessary.
Okay, and I'm going to be the next meeting is going to be, what did we say? August. What did we agree with?
20.
August, was the 27th?
Yes, so that is the plan, that the next meeting will be scheduled for
Natalie, I think we said August 20th.
August
Was it
20th,
the August 20th. Okay,
third meeting of the third Thursday of the month.
okay. And I'll probably be trying to get on remotely. I'm going to be in Europe, so I don't know. I don't want to miss that meeting, but at least it'll be taped, so I can watch it afterwards. But and if I have any questions, I'll just, when I get back, I'll talk to Jennifer if I have any questions. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Green.
Thank you. And I just wanted to extend an opportunity to Juan or Sonia, if you have anything you want to share with the group as members of the board. Otherwise, we'll stand for adjournment.
No, just thank you all for having me. And since I am from MFA, if there's a time where you'd like me to present on what's going on in our world, or you have data requests, I'm happy to prepare something so long as I have a week or so to prepare that. I'm excited to hear your enthusiasm for these housing initiatives.
Thank you.
No, I don't have anything to add at this time. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Juan. Councilor Flores, you put your hand back up.
What are you talking about? There's no hand.
Just checking.
We're going to take it down. Blue hand up there.
If there's nothing else, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved by Flores.
Second by Gandara.
So I got a motion to adjourn by Councilor Flores and a second by Councilor Gondeta. Thank you everyone for attending and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for running the rest of the meeting, Natalie.